Okay, here's a quick update to the map that I designed, which is a follow-up to my previous video called City Skylines Rubbish, and it is rubbish really. Actually, let me just get rid of this background stuff. Oh, I'll keep a bit of it on. I need a bit of ambience, I guess. Right. Alright, so in the beginning I had a few buildings, etc, etc, etc. So now I've expanded to 103,000 people, getting 50 grand a month. 50 grand, I mean, you know, I'd love that to be converted into dollars. It'd be more like 50 million a month, and if you add 3 zeros to that, then you'd be looking at $12 billion, which is around about what I'd expect. Anyway, it doesn't really matter about the scaling of that. I've got my little regional airport and stuff, but okay, now some of the things I've learned, I'll let it go. A building has burned down. Okay, what I've learned is that if you make your commercial district too big, like if I extended all these buildings across that way and further down that way, then the central portion of the commercial area will die because it just can't get goods in, because you've just got amazingly bad traffic jams everywhere, and hardly anything ever makes it to the middle of the city before it despawns. However, now I'm starting to wonder what the role of offices are. Down here we've got high demand for industry or offices. Now, there's no real manual for city skylines, because in order to write a comprehensive manual for it, it'd be like a 20-volume encyclopedia of everything. I don't know how much intelligence is actually programmed into the game. But when you've got people down here, that's on fire, that's got garbage. I don't like ZOTs, spelt Z-O-T or Z-O-T for Americans. That's a ZOT, meaning it's on fire. That's a ZOT, meaning garbage. With garbage, I've mapped it to the key G, and I've got plenty of garbage receptacles. And super recycling centre, it's got 21 out of 47 trucks in use. That one's got 25 out of 47. It'll be picked up. So the thing is, don't react to every ZOT, because they don't necessarily mean, although there's another building on fire down here, so fire stations, how many of those have we got out? 7 out of 12. Why? None. I mean, you know, is this a bug or what? Although I have reprogrammed some of these utilities. B9 is a username that I use on Wrong Planet, and the only thing I've done is increase the number of fire engines to 12 instead of, I think the default's about 8. There's no fire engines in use there. I haven't changed anything about it, but nevertheless, whatever, that's fire. So the main problem is traffic. Now, I do have the traffic under control pretty well here. I haven't finished talking about offices yet. I know. Yep, everything seems to be okay there. I've put a 6-lane roundabout there. I've got to find out whether there's traffic lights on it. No, 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 and no. Although they're not allowed to queue around intersections. which is good. And this will be the same. Crossroads and intersections. It's telling me that that is too close and it's going to cause traffic jams, but it's not causing traffic jams. Oh, true. Well, false actually. True. I don't know how that got back to true. No, don't want traffic lights at all on any of this because it's all one-way traffic. Traffic light's gone back to false and it's gone back to true. Okay, now this means that anyway, fuck. Sorry, this is probably not relevant to anybody, but I have another thing called Traffic President, which is a mod, and I'm going to change switch traffic lights. And if that doesn't tell me what the traffic light is, it doesn't give me any information about it, but I'm going to press it and then get rid of that, then go back to a completely different mod, which will tell me now that that's false. But that's true. That's okay. That's going to go back to true in a minute. Yep. And that's because Traffic President is somehow changing it. I don't know. Switch traffic lights. Where are we? Yeah, there we go. Get rid of that. Okay, so now back to here so as we can get to the traffic light thing. False, 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 true. Is that going to go back to true? Yep, it is. Okay, got to switch it by this one. But this really doesn't have anything to do with bloody... it doesn't tell me whether there's traffic lights there or not. This is a great thing, Traffic President. I have to say, get the mod if you haven't got it. False, 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 which means there's no traffic lights here. That'll go nicely now. Okay, now as far as officers are concerned, I don't know what they do. I've never been able to find a clear answer. You go onto internet forums and say, do officers substitute successfully for industry? Because another thing I've noticed is that industry, if we go into the pollution thing, it's filthy, and but as far as I know, these industries are the only things that produce goods that can be sold by the commercial centre. And I don't see how officers could produce goods that would serve commercial. But officers produce no pollution, and therefore you can fit them inside. You can make alternative... I'll go to zones here, and you can see how I've got some of it zoned office blocks, and I've got it all interspersed with the commercial. No problems at all. So that's fine. Anyway, the demand for residential is low. Okay, another problem which what have we got? Buildings burnt down. Okay, another problem is it's really difficult to get specialised industry areas like forestry fully staffed. If I had any more than that, they don't tell you how much you should zone for it. So it's in zones here, districts, that district, except that's making districts. To read the districts, I've got the specialisation of schools out. Now that means policies, schools out, and that means that the citizens will prefer working over education, and only a small portion of eligible citizens will go on to study in the university, which means that these industries require only uneducated workers. Only uneducated. Anybody above is not going to really want to work there. They'll take them. If the educated workers have no other jobs to go to, they will work here. But this is obviously low paid, and you don't, well, I mean, this is a kind of contentious thing to say, I guess, but it requires probably not a huge amount of education to be able to saw up logs and cut trees down and shit. So anyway, I finally sorted that out by making a hell of a lot of, well, you know, there's a fair few people there. They've all got no education, or very barren education, but with public transport, and I've mapped that to P, I have buses trying to service all these things so that people can get to work. So that bus line's got virtually nobody on it. It's useless. Now hang on, there's an idea which I've got now. Maybe if they're poor, they can't afford to catch the bus. So there's another policy that I can make, which is, oh god, we've got to go to this one, not that one. Free public transport. And you wouldn't want to make free public transport for the whole of the city, because your income would come down right down to the max. Now, as you can see, this zone that I've made here, I've made the residents not progress past the poorest, and if I have any shops, which I don't really have, they'll also be the poorest, because if they evolve up to stage 2, then they'll start complaining that they've got no customers. And the reason they've got no customers is because nobody's got enough money to spend in more expensive shops. And I don't know why that's there, because industry here has only got one level, and offices I haven't really done anything. So with policies, it may be good to use free public transport. And if I do that, then these people might be able to afford to catch the bus and get to work. Anyway, hang on, back to public transport. Everybody's got to have some sort of link to town, and maybe I should keep these people totally separate. But this lot, oh my god, we've got 1,500 people waiting there. They're all red because I've made the line red, and therefore everybody that's waiting is red. And if we go out of public transport, we can see there's a hell of a lot of activity around here. People going into the station. There's not enough trains. This train will be full. Let's have a look at it. It's already got 451, and I'll pause it again so we can read this. It's just let off 44 people and taken on 73. So it's woefully inadequate. So I'm going to add another 2 trains to that, because that number there is insane. Anyway, okay, fair enough. So back to districts. Wait there, back to districts. This district's allowed to get up to level 2 shops, just in case there is a need down here for well-educated people, but not. That's actually not zoned at all. Anyway, so these are some of the things getting out of districts, I think. These are some of the things that are of interest. Cloverleaf's don't really cut it in the end because they're only one lane, and you can't make that 2 lanes and that 2 lanes because they'll both collide, or they'll both overlap each other. So I've got to design me a much better clover leaf. But anyway, I don't really need to do it as yet. So now, it always looks really bad on the wrong side of the sun. So if I put the sun in the afternoon, then that looks good from this side. But if I turn around, it looks bad from that side. So I hate the lighting. And when I'm recording a video, I'll put it back to morning. When I'm recording a video, I can only really go in one direction. So I can't go down here, turn around, and then go back up there, because it'll look, let's say, impregnated. I won't use the foul word for that. So anyway, in order to make a really good YouTube video, obviously you put your decorations in there. I never make the buildings right up to the street because it doesn't look good in a YouTube video. So if I go down and have a look at this, and we move along, this is bad frame rate, you can see things look expansive, etc. But if I go up here, for example, where everything is right up against the street, then it looks boring. It doesn't really look real. I'm in the shadows all the time. So that's why I never build everything completely up to the street, because eventually I'll decorate this with flowers and plazas and parks and other things which make it look really good as I'm travelling along. So I'll have to choose which I'm going to do. So if I was to make a straight road, and that's the centre of the city, that's going to be Main Street. So if I was going to have everybody from, I'd probably do a trip down that way in the afternoon, all the way down to here, and then probably turn that way and go that way, because the sun would still be on the side of the buildings. That sewage, when I got 95,000 people, I was able to buy every tile on the game, which now means I own the lot. I did have about 30 million before I started buying those tiles, but I can do whatever I damn well please now. So what I did was I got rid of the sewerage outlets, and there's a great mod called something or another. Where is it? Where did I put them? Yeah, here. Oh my god, crime rate is high. Does that matter? Shit, pumping capacity is nothing. Let me just check the water here. Sewage treatment's not working. Right, okay. So obviously these act like buildings. They're called sewer water things, and it dumps all the sewage deep into the ground, and so you don't get that filthy shit looking water. Except I'm going to have a police station here. I'm probably going to have to have a fire station there, and a few houses, and the houses, I don't know, they're going to have to be dirt poor. Oh god, I hope I don't have to build a bloody small community around these things, because eventually, once the population gets too high, I mean, only 4 of these are good enough to deal with 105,000. And also what I've done is I've taken the water intakes and made the big ones and put them in the ocean. Now the ocean's unlimited, which means that's never going to lower the water level. Earlier in the game, I had the water intakes up here, and there wasn't enough water flow down there to supply it. So it kind of all went, it sucked the water dry, and they were just pulling up air, and that wasn't very good at all. So it's water, and yeah, so it's going to take a couple of hours for this filth to be pushed out into the ocean and to become pristine. That's about all I can really say. Here's my ore industry over here. Oh yeah, another thing that I don't like is, where's that ZOT? Sometimes they say, these industries say, not enough raw materials. And you think, right, okay, well, we've got cargo terminals here. That's, I don't know, it's only 36% full, but it's a cargo terminal, and we've got great highway input, let it go. No real jams anywhere. But when they say not enough raw materials, I wonder, what type of raw materials are you talking about? What do you need? I'm providing oil, I'm providing ore, and I'm providing wooden stuff, for papers, paper bags and furniture and stuff. The ore, I don't know what that's used for. Roads, tar, building materials, cement. And now I'm starting up an agricultural industry here, which I've only just bought that tile. So once I've got enough agriculture, because those are the only four that you've got: oil, ore, forestry and fertile land. So what else could they be after? And you click on them and it just says not enough raw materials, and it should tell me what raw materials it wants. And again, as I say, this was completely abandoned for so long because there was just not enough workers. So I built this whole area here to try and get people to go down there. I gave them all bus routes and circled it around and everything, but I still couldn't get anybody to work there. But that seems to have sorted itself out now that I've put enough level 1s and told them not to go to school. And if I go to education, all they've got is an elementary school. Oh, yeah, I didn't want this to go for too long. Anyway, that's how it's going at the moment. I don't know whether I'll ever make a video out of it, but that's an extension. And I'm only going to extend the commercial and bloody residential out to there. Then I'm going to bring it all the way down to there, and then I'm going to have to start something completely different somewhere else, because cities that are too big will starve unless you've got underground roads, and I do have underground roads, and underground this and that and everything else. But I don't really like underground stuff because you can't see it happening. Doesn't make for a good YouTube video. And part of the reason I play this game is because I think of how I can make a really good YouTube video at the end of it. But another thing is, let's reach a population of 1 million. I've got another video which is 350,000, which is, if I was to, scroll up as high as I could, you'd see that a lot of that particular map is completely empty. So let's have multiple cities, multiple everything, but that won't make for a good YouTube video because you don't really want to turn around and do too much. If you've seen it once, you've seen it all. And also the MIDI music, which I'm going to address. in another bloody video. That'll do.